Hey everybody, welcome to week 9
of Shift Happens. Alright, so here we are. Actually getting this one done a little earlier because this evening, normally do them at night. We're doing this one at our lunchtime here on Wednesday. Tonight I'm leaving early while Dr. Frank Core rocks on our healthcare class tonight. And I'm going to go set up the Source, which is a place that Dr. Frank Core and I put together for a learning center for chiropractors. And the Source is Epoch. So we're getting ready tonight for Epoch. For tomorrow, we got Tracy Old Tex Wilson coming in from Lubbock, Texas to rock the world. And so we're doing this one a little earlier. And tonight's topic is on chiropractic and kids. And you know, we really don't know what our topics are going to be until all of a sudden we hit it. And I think this is going to be one that may be an ongoing thing. What do you think?
Yeah, we'll be hitting this one. It's close to the heart, so.
So here's where the kids thing came left. It was about 5 o'clock last night, and Allison, our front desk person who's been with us for about 34 years now, I think.
Yeah.
About 34 years. We're not good with numbers, but we're guessing on that. And she had a phone call from a new mom that had a 9.5-month-old little boy who had ear infections, and so they wanted to come in and have us take a look at him, and they were in a dire straight panic, so we evaluated him last night. And it was interesting. During the case history, the mom was telling me this little boy is 9.5 months old, and he's been on antibiotics for months. And guess what the antibiotics have been doing for him?
Nothing?
Exactly, nothing. As a matter of fact, this poor little boy, he's sitting there in front of me, and literally his spirit of life was gone. And during the evaluation, the consultation, the mom asked me, had made a statement to me that about the pediatrician told her that chiropractic wasn't safe for kids. You guys ever heard that one before? I love that. So before we go on that, hey, on the amoxicillin, guess how many amoxicillin studies have been done on kids? Take a guess.
I gotta guess. 0.
But this bonehead had the guts to say, the audacity to say, chiropractic wasn't safe for children. But yet he's the same guy who's dumping poisons into our children with absolutely no stinking tests whatsoever. And this one's near and dear to us because if you want to see how safe amoxicillin is for babies, go to www.WyattLehmanFoundation.org. It's on our website. It's our December event that we're doing to help the Wyatt Lehman Foundation. Any questions on it, ask one of us. So, why chiropractic for kids? It's very simple. I'm going to make this cut and dry, and Dr. Frank Core's got a couple stories for you. What chiropractors do is we evaluate the nerve system for subluxations. The body is a self-regulating, self-maintaining organism that's controlled and regulated by the nerve system. As long as you have a fully functioning nerve system, your human experience is better. So why chiropractic for kids? If they've got a nerve system, I would say we would probably check them.
Check them. Yeah.
So let me ask you a question. Should every child be at least checked chiropractically?
Yes. I would say yes.
At what point do you suppose we shouldn't check somebody?
When they don't have a nerve system.
That's probably a pretty good point. So I can guarantee you, do you suppose that the answer for health is in amoxicillin? It's probably not, is it?
I'm going, no freaking way.
And so when she was telling me this last night, I was like, really? So if your child is healthy, you don't give them the amoxicillin. Mm-hmm. If your child is sick, we're going to give him the amoxicillin. And she's like, yeah. I said, so what happens if you give him the amoxicillin when he's healthy? What do you suppose she said? He'll get what? He'll get sick. So it's like, really? And so why chiropractic for kids? As long as you have a nerve system, get it checked. Everybody who has a nerve system, get it checked. And we're going to, I think, elaborate a little bit more on chiropractic in kids, but the first one is the foundation. Nerve system, chiropractor. So with that, the genius has got a couple quick stories here for you.
Yeah. So just, you know what? He has a nerve system. He gets checked. He gets adjusted. I have a nerve system. I get checked and I get adjusted. Do you have a nerve system?
I hope so.
I'm betting if you're looking and hearing and seeing this, you do.
You probably got one.
So, one little quick story about a little bit more about kids. So, you guys seen
Elmo, Cookie
Elmo,
Monster.
Cookie Monster. So, these guys are awesome. Kids love and play with them. And I'll tell you one quick story. Little guy, 2 years old. He has had ear infections. He has been constipated for months. And doctors, his mom's a nurse, loved the family to death, and she tried all these different drugs. nothing worked. Constipated, difficult, hard, painful bowel movements, constant ear infections. And when this little guy came into our office, because his mom heard that kids can get help by chiropractic, she brought him in, last resort, you know what, I don't know what else to do, can you help? And the answer is,
yes.
he has a nerve system.
Get it checked.
Ta-da. So, this little guy, you know what, he was scared to death of doctors. Every time he came in, he didn't want to see any doctor ever, because all they do is give him shots and give him stuff to make him hurt. So, when he first came into this room,
With the intent to help.
when he first came in, his mom told me that anybody that he's ever seen, any doctor, he just screams bloody murder. So, chiropractic's safe for kids. Prime example here, okay? This little guy, he was a little timid when he walked in. I just told him my name was Dr. Mad. I'm a little different.
He's way different.
So he came in, I said, come here. I asked him if he wanted to be adjusted. He's like, just shook his head. So I said, come here, I just want to show you something. So I brought out Elmo, because he wasn't a big fan of Cookie Monster, but he liked Elmo. So I brought out Elmo, put him on my lap. You know what? He heard that little, he was like, he's intrigued. Came over, did it again. He's like, oh. So I asked him, do you want to adjust Elmo? This little guy, 2 years old, put his hands on my fingers and adjusted him. He just thought that was the coolest thing in the world. So, he adjusted Elmo like 10 times. He just kept going. And just kept looking at me like, oh my God, that's awesome. So, I asked him if he wanted to get adjusted like Elmo. He said, yeah. So he hopped in the chair, little adjustment to his atlas. And you know what? He started laughing. That little boy, finally, he got it. And when him and his sister come in, he's the first one in that chair. He runs and beats his sister because he wants to get adjusted.
So next your question, how's the constipation and ear infections?
Oh, gone for months.
So no drugs?
No ear infections, no constipation. This family's great, and this little boy, healthy as can be.
So, in closing, what we want to say is, as long as you have a nerve system,
get it checked.
So whether or not you're young, old, whatever, you live your life through your nerve system. You don't live your life through drugs. It's insane. I don't get it. I don't understand it. If there's a pediatrician out there that can prove to me that health comes from drugs, I'll change professions, man. I will become a pediatrician.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah, okay,
Hold on. One of the things that, have you ever seen drug trials and everything for adults, right? And they're like, oh my God, you got to try this new drug. Well, they're paying people to try these new drugs. Have you ever seen a drug trial for a kid?
Nada.
Never.
Well, you do. Every time you go in there and they dump them in your kids, and that wouldn't work, that one didn't work.
But they give these drugs that they were tested on adults to kids. How the hell do they know what's going on to that kid in the most important growing stage of their life?
What's called off-labeling is what they do. As long as it's approved for an adult, it's got to be safe for a child. And you know what's really interesting, and let's close with this. It's really interesting is, you know, you wonder why your child, and we grow into drug problems. If we tell little Billy, take a drug at the age of 5 years old because you have a crisis situation, then when Billy's 18 years old, he has a crisis situation because let's say he gets cut from the football team or his girlfriend breaks up with him. His peers are now the buddies. They're not mom and dad, but as a young child, we told them it was okay to take a drug in a crisis situation, so now he's taking something that he shouldn't even think about taking, not that he should be taking any type of drugs, because we told him it was okay in a crisis situation. So with that, we're done. Shift Happens, number 9. We'll see you next week.